Friends, whenever we talk about those Hollywood films that delivered such a deadly combination of action and emotion that the audience's heartbeat raced with every scene, the name that comes right at the top of that list is the Taken series. And honestly, if the very first Taken hadn't been released in 2008, maybe it would have taken us much longer to truly realize just how far a father can go for his daughter, and to what extent he is willing to shed blood in order to protect the ones he loves. The first part of Taken didn't just give us thrilling action, it gave us an emotion, a bond, something that exists in the heart of every father and every daughter. That is exactly why Bryan Mills became much more than just the hero of a movie. He became a man who stood tall for humanity, for family, and etched himself into the hearts of millions. The first film of 2008 taught us that no matter how dark the circumstances may get, if your will is strong and your love for your family is true, you can cut through any darkness the world throws at you. From the streets of Paris to the hideouts of the Mafia, Taken carried us on a journey filled with fear, rage, and pain. And perhaps that's why the iconic line, "I will find you and I will kill you," remains immortal in pop culture to this day. Then came Taken 2 in 2012, which showed us something equally powerful, that when you rip a loved one away from someone, vengeance will surely follow. This time, Bryan Mills wasn't just fighting to save his daughter, but also his ex-wife. And the most terrifying part was that the enemies were far more prepared than before. In the alleys of Istanbul, with the echoes of bullets and the roar of car chases, we realized that Taken was no longer just a movie, it had become a full-fledged journey. And then, in 2014 arrived Taken 3, which made the story even darker and more personal. This time, Bryan Mills himself was accused of murdering his wife. And suddenly the police department, the FBI, and even the CIA were after him. But the truth was far more sinister. A conspiracy to completely destroy his family. Bryan had to clear his name, and at the same time catch the real culprits. Taken 3 elevated the series to an entirely new height, and proved once again that Liam Neeson was not just an actor, but a phenomenon, showing the world that age doesn't matter. If your spirit is alive, you can win any battle. But friends, with every successful series comes the burning question that fans always ask. What's next? Will we ever get another part? Will the story we love continue further? That same question has always been asked about Taken. Yes, after Taken 3, it seemed like the series had reached its end. But the truth is, even today, millions of fans still dream of seeing Bryan Mills return once again, fighting for his family and for justice. So now imagine, if Taken 4 were ever made, what would it look like? What story would it tell? What twists would it bring? That's exactly what we have for you today. A script that transports you straight into the world of Taken 4, making you feel like you are living this story yourself. The story begins many years after the events of Taken 3. Bryan Mills has grown older. He has distanced himself from his former life as a government operative. And now he tries to live a quiet, peaceful existence. His daughter Kim is grown, married, and a mother herself to a little girl. Bryan's entire life now revolves around his granddaughter, and he firmly believes that his violent past is long behind him. But friends, just when a man thinks his battles are over, fate throws him into a new war. Kim and her husband leave for a business conference in Europe, while Bryan visits their home to spend time with his granddaughter. Everything seems normal until one night, shocking news arrives. Kim and her husband have been abducted. Bryan's world shatters. His heart trembles. He thought he had shielded his daughter from every danger. But once again, the enemies have returned to strike at the core of his world. But this time, the threat is even more terrifying. This is no ordinary mafia. It's a massive international network that uses technology and artificial intelligence as their weapons. Bryan is now facing enemies who fight not only with guns, but with machines, drones, and cyber attacks. This battle is no longer confined to the streets of Paris or Istanbul. It stretches across the entire globe. Bryan tries reaching out to his old contacts, but he quickly realizes that this time he is truly alone. Even the CIA and FBI step away from the case, because this network is so powerful that going after it would mean putting the entire agency at risk. Bryan understands one thing clearly. If his daughter and son-in-law are to survive, it will depend solely on his own strength. Thus begins a deadly race where every second counts. Bryan sets off for Europe, reawakening his old instincts as an operative, dismantling this network piece by piece. But then comes the twist, the shocking revelation that this network doesn't just want power or money. No, this is deeply personal. Friends. Here's where Taken 4 gets even more gripping. Because Bryan isn't just fighting criminals this time. He is battling ghosts from his own past. Long ago, in one of his covert missions, Bryan had unknowingly destroyed a family, and now, years later, those very people have returned, seeking vengeance in the cruelest way possible. For Bryan, this isn't just about saving his daughter anymore. It's about facing his sins, his guilt, and the shadows of his past. As the story progresses, the danger escalates. Heart-stopping car chases, brutal hand-to-hand combat, the beautiful yet deadly streets of Europe, and the constant threat of high-tech traps. Taken 4 delivers a new adrenaline rush with every sequence. This battle is not just about bullets and blades. It's about brains and technology. And that is exactly why Taken 4 becomes bigger, darker, and far more dangerous than any of the films that came before. As the story progresses, we see Bryan searching tirelessly for days, following lead after lead. He reconnects with old undercover agents, visits secret locations, and slowly uncovers the chilling truth. That behind this entire operation is someone connected to his past, a name hidden in the old pages of Bryan's life. Someone who has now returned after so many years, and this time, his goal is not just revenge, but to break Bryan right in front of his own daughter's eyes. The enemy's moves are so deadly that Bryan, for a moment, feels close to giving up. But the very moment he hears his daughter's voice, his courage reignites. Kim, trapped in enemy custody, somehow manages to grab a phone for just a minute and whispers that she is scared. Bryan, in that same powerful tone that fans around the world recognize, replies that no matter if the entire world stands against him, he will find her and he will bring her home. Hearing this line makes every fan's heartbeat pound faster, because it is the very line that made Taken immortal in cinematic history. From here, the film throws us into a war unlike anything we've seen before. A rain of bullets, high-speed car chases, hidden traps, drone assaults, and even cyber warfare, all colliding at once. Bryan is older now, his body battered and scarred, but his spirit is still as unbreakable as it was in the very first film. He pushes through every obstacle until he finally reaches the place where Kim is being held captive. Here, the most intense sequence of the film unfolds. Bryan and the villain standing face to face. Their fight is not only with fists and gunfire, but also with words and the weight of the past. The villain taunts him, saying, "You destroyed my family, and now I will destroy yours right before your eyes." But Bryan, even though gravely injured, summons every ounce of his strength to defeat him. In the climax, Bryan finally frees his daughter and her husband. They fall into his arms. And that moment fills every viewer's eyes with tears, because Taken was never just about action. It has always been about the bond between a father and his daughter. A bond so powerful that a man is willing to fight even death itself. The film doesn't end with the rescue alone. In the final scene, Bryan holds his granddaughter in his arms and softly promises that he will never leave them alone again. That line pierces the audience to their core, because it carries the very soul of Taken, the message that family is the greatest strength of all. Now, if we talk about the release of Taken 4, while no official announcement has been made yet, industry reports and fan theories suggest that if it does happen, it could be set for release by 2027. Liam Neeson himself has hinted multiple times that he is nearing the end of his career. But he has also admitted that with the right script, he would return as Bryan Mills one last time. As for the budget, with large-scale action, international filming across Europe and beyond, cutting-edge technology, and high-risk stunts, the production could easily cost between $80 to $100 million. And that wouldn't be surprising, because even though Taken films have historically been made with relatively modest budgets, they've always earned massive profit. But this time, the scale would be bigger than ever.